Hi everyone. I thought it's time to start doing some Grandmaster games on my channel because there has been some requests, and I have a book on brilliancies by Yasuo and I thought I would do some out of there. So the first game is Bobby Fischer versus Boris Spassky from round 6 of the 1972 World Championship. Even if you've seen this game, I have got some very good analysis here of it, and it's worth seeing it again because it's such an exciting and brilliant game. And if you haven't seen it, then prepare to be amazed. And let's start anyway. Well, Fischer shocked everyone by playing c4, the English opening. He usually plays e4, and he even said it's best by test, which of course is a load of rubbish, but because d4 wins all the games at the World Championship level, and e4 usually gets hammered by Sicilian or something, or drawed by the Petrovs. But in them days, e4 seemed to be the best. So e6, and now Spassky plays his favourite Tartakower variation of the Queen's Gambit declined, which is characterised by this b6, and after c takes d5, you should take with a knight because it swaps some pieces off and black's rather cramped, so therefore it's good to swap pieces off so you have less pieces to work with in your cramp. And now black has a queenside pawn majority, which can be potentially mobile and liberated, so white has to work hard to try and neutralise it over the course of the next few moves. Rook c1, and also black c7 pawn is a potential target because it's lying on a half open file. Black has the e file to work with though, and a potential outpost to e4. Bishop e6, queen a4, and now queen a3, pinning the pawn to the queen, so it needs protecting. Bishop b5, this was a novelty at the time. The idea is to provoke a6, which will then be a fixed, well not fixed target, but a target for the bishop. And also the bishop can't be taken after a6 because of the pin on the a8 rook. So a6 was played anyway. D takes, pawn takes, castles, and rook a7, which was given a question mark exclamation mark in the book. It is a rather dubious move. Queen a7 is better. And after bishop e2, because white's bishop is now forced to retreat, knight d7, rook fd1, and white has some pressure on these two hanging pawns. And hanging pawns could potentially be a weakness, and they're both on half open files, so they're potentially vulnerable. But black can use the half open b file for counterplay. He has no bad pieces, and he can, I'd say, he's equalised here and has got a fairly comfortable position. Instead, rook a7 was played, which isn't so good. Bishop e2, knight d7. Knight d4, a strong move where the knight's in a strong centralised spot, and it can't be taken because of the pin on the queen. So black decides to unpin, but this is a bad move, which allows allows a great move very soon, and also puts the queen on the bad square. And also black plays queen e7 again in a few moves, so he's lost a move there far. Knight f6 prevents white's idea, which we are going to see. And after knight b3, c4 takes, and knight d4. White's knight is in a very strong outpost, giving white an advantage, but at least black's got potential counterplay on the b and e lines, and he can probably grovel to a draw here. However, queen f8 was played, and now comes a great move after knight takes e6, and after f takes e6, it looks like a positional blunder this, because although it gets the bishop against the knight, it strengthens black's pawn structure. However, now here comes a great move, and if you want to try and spot it, please stop the video now. The move is e4. This is a brilliant clearance pawn sacrifice, because now, well, it's not even really pawn sacrifice, because if black takes, then look at that pawn structure there. And in fact, it's white soon wins the pawn back with a crushing position after rook c4. Now the c4 square is cleared. Another point of e4. Knight f6, rook fc1. If rook c7, then queen takes a6, threatening queen takes e6 check, and white has a dangerous and enduring initiative. Another point is that the third rank has been cleared, so white's queen can switch to the king's side with pressure on e6, and also the bishop can come to g4 because e6 is so weak. If knight f6 in this position, and knight f6 a couple of moves ago would have prevented e4. Now would come e5 and f4, and white's central majority and the potential of playing f5 is crushing it in this position. So Spassky plays d4, which at least gives him a protected passed pawn, but now comes f4, and white's majority is starting to become very strong. There is threats now such as bishop c4, queen h3 and f5 taking advantage of the pin. Now Spassky retracts his 18th move, so therefore he's lost a move, but he is threatening e5 to blockade everything and have a strong centre. So e5 was played by white, and also bishop c4, queen h3 and f5 are coming. Rook b8 trying to get some counterplay on the b line. Now bishop c4, powerful square for the bishop, and black needs to get out of the pin because knight f8 is hammered by f5 and f6 is coming, which will rip open black's king's pawn shield and lead to a crushing attack by white, especially seeing as white's queen can easily shuffle to the king's side now, and also because the f pawn is gone, the rook f3 to g3 or h3 is possible. So he gets out of the pin, and now queen h3, the queen shuffles over to the king's side with decisive effect. Knight f8. If rook takes b2, then bishop takes e6, knight f8, and bishop b3, incarcerating the rook, and also planning rook ce1 and f5 f6 with a crushing attack. So black cannot afford to let the e6 pawn drop, otherwise the f and e pawns are decisive. So knight f8 is forced, putting the knight on a horrible passive square. b3, a5, and now f5. And although black gets to trade his weak e6 pawn off, the f file starts to become very critical. And now there is an immediate threat of rook f7 winning a rook or the queen. So knight h7, a clever move, where rook f7 runs into a knight fork, and the problem is that white's queen is falling with check, so white loses the exchange, and therefore black could win. Now that would be a swindle. Now rook fc1 renewing the threats, so queen d8. If rook f8 trying to challenge the f line, then takes, and queen c8 wins the black knight because the king can't go to g8 to protect it because the bishop's cutting the square off, and white would be a piece up. So queen d8, a passive move, getting out of any rook f7s, but now queen g3, another strong move. There is a plan of e6 and queen e5 because white's queen's the only piece that can really be improved, and also maybe plans of a battery on the b1 to h7 diagonal with queen g6 and bishop d3. Rook e7 trying to blockade the e-pawn. h4 another brutal move, taking away the g5 square from the black knight and therefore incarcerating it. Rook bb7, e6 another brutal move. Rook takes c5 is threatened, and after it is defended, well, if d3 first of all, then queen takes d3, queen takes d3, bishop takes d3, and rook takes e6 is nonsense because of check and mate, because the bishop's cutting off the h7 square from the black king. So rook bc7 protecting the pawn, but now queen e5 with, as Sowan wrote, overwhelming centralization. White's pieces are very active, they're all doing something, and black's pieces are all passive and just sitting there defending. And over the next few moves, white can just improve his position gradually before playing the final assault, because black just can't do anything, and Spassky just shuffles his queen forward between d8 and e8 constantly, just hoping that white will rush, but his attack can fail. But Fischer just builds it up magically with first of all a4, then he moves his rook, and now the final assault plan is revealed with bishop d3. The point being is that white is going to play queen e4 and form a battery on the b1 to h7 diagonal. The only defense will be knight f6, and then an exchange sack will be played, totally ripping apart the black king's pawn shield, and black will have no defense then against the queen, rook and bishop, because rooks are clumsy defenders, and also e6 pawn has to be kept under watch. And we are going to see this happen very soon. Queen e8 and now queen e4, and now knight f6 was forced. If rook takes e6, then we see what white is threatening with check, takes, and mate. And this is the threat. Knight f6 is the only defense. But now comes rook takes f6, stunning move. A very logical exchange sack, breaking through all resistance and leading to almost a forced mate. Takes, and king g8 was played, which is the best try. The idea is if a check on the g line occurs, then black will play rook g7 and block it off and put up some resistance. All defences fail though. If king g7, then we have check and another check, and the e6 pawn wins here because rook f7 is forced. If queen h5, then we have trying to get into d1 or something. Then we have g4, a very strong deflection move, and after queen takes h4, we have check and mate. So king g8 was tried, but now comes another really brutal move with bishop c4. The point being is if a check on the g line occurs and black plays rook g7, then e7 checker wins immediately. So black has to move the king, and now the final killing move, which leads to a forced mate in 7 at most, according to Houdini, is queen f4. And because of this, Spassky resigned. There is dual threat of queen takes h6 check and rook f8 check winning the queen as well. So he throws in the towel, and what a brilliant game from Fischer this is. This is the finest game in that 1972 World Championship match. It gave Fischer a lead which he never relinquished. Even Spassky joined the audience in applauding Fischer's win. This game is very famous, and I hope you enjoyed my analysis of it and learnt something. Please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.